Hello to the Autumn Synod in Darlington Methodist District. We have a visitor with us today that I will be doing an interview with. He's called Andy Fishburn, and he will tell about himself in a minute. But we are over the moon that Andy has been able to give us some of his time to explain exactly what reimagining discipleship looks like, based on the Methodist way of life resources and some of the resources that have now come through that as well. Andy will be showing us what that is. So it's really good to have you here, Andy. Thank you for coming.
Thank
Could you,
you.
could you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, so my name's Andy. I'm part of the connectional team, part of the evangelism and growth team. My particular role is discipleship and faith formation. I'm a presbyter. I live on the Isle of Man, and it's really, really great to be able to join you today and to share about a bit about discipleship and how we're trying to reboot it and trying to give it a bit of life and energy for the season ahead.
That's great. Thank you. I mean, if everybody has a quick look behind Andy, there is a tube map.
Lovely.
One of the resources that's been developed is this a rail map, really. So, Andy, could you tell us a little bit about the rail map and what is it trying to do? How does it work?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. So discipleship, as I'm sure you know, is absolutely core to what it means to be a Christian and particularly to be a Methodist. And this is a way to try and give people a bit more of a handle on what it means to be a disciple, what that in practice looks like, because we know it's following Jesus, but Jesus is invisible. So what does it actually look like to be a disciple? Now, as Methodists, we have this like fundamental statement called our calling, which says we live out our lives as disciples in worship and mission. And a Methodist way of life is a more recent attempt to give a bit more shape to what that looks like. We've got 12 things which are worshipy, missiony, which gives a bit more detail about what it means to be a disciple, things you actually do. So what we've got here, though, is the same content. So this is a Methodist way of life. This is our calling, but we're presenting it kind of like a modern day parable. Jesus told parables where he took these sort of deep spiritual truths and by saying it's a bit like this, an everyday situation that everyone knew, it helped people to get their heads around it and to understand it, and to by by exploring the parable, you kind of come up with new questions and new ways of looking at it. So that's what we've got for you here. So are you ready? Are you ready for this parable? So it's a bit like being a traveler on a train. So as a disciple, you've got to say yes. You've got to respond. You've got to hear the call of the kingdom and make a step. So you've got to get onto the train, and that could be daunting. It's worth saying at the outset that discipleship is tricky. It's daunting. It's something that takes bravery, but God is good, so it always works out well. Now, the train has 12 stations. This train map has got 12 stations, which are the 12 areas of a Methodist way of life. So as disciples, we have to visit these stations, pray, worship, notice God in scripture and the world. We care for each other and ourselves. We learn. We're open-minded, open-hearted, open-walleted. We're not closed people, we're open people. We serve others, we look for the flourishing of creation, and we challenge injustice, and we evangelize by telling people about it, by living lives that naturally communicate the gospel, and we take part in shared events together, which can tell people what God's like. So as a disciple, it's our job to visit every station, and that can be quite daunting. As we go around, this is a lightning fast tour of this. So as we go around the 12 stations, as we travel between them, we're to be reflective. As we chat with each other, we can talk about where God was in those stations, because that's the amazing thing, that God is doing these things in the world now, and we get to take part. And as we do these things, God will meet us and change us and shape us. We grow. We're sanctified, is the technical Wesleyan term. So that's basically what we're saying it means to be a disciple. You get on the train, you visit these stations, you get stuck in at whatever level that's right for you at the moment. You can do these things in a very simple way, but you can go way deep into all of those things. And that's what it means to be a disciple. A Methodist disciple does those 12 things, and we're reflective, and we grow as the Spirit shapes us through that.
So, Andy, do you have examples where this is working, or you've trialed it, or give us some examples of how does it work in practice?
Sure, yeah. It's very new, this way of doing it. We've done 2 days over the last church year where we've gathered leaders together at Cliff College and then at London to explore this model together, and they've then taken this back to their own churches. At the conference last year, at the Methodist conference, we went big into this. So we had this giant floor mat, which we'll show you later, and we asked all of the conference delegates and all of the guests and visitors to sort of step onto the tube map and think about what would be their home station, which one comes naturally to them, which is their kind of baseline, where do they start from, and to listen out prayerfully to where God's calling them to go next. And through this year, we've now got resources, so we're sending out resources to all kinds of people across the country to try it and play with it and see how it works. And the aim is by this time next year, we'll have something that all churches can download as a pack and stuff they can order to use this in their churches to facilitate conversations about how discipleship works.
I've already seen some of this stuff. It's very exciting, I think, but very helpful, I must admit. It is very enabling, I would say. So, Andy,
Thank you.
I mean, what might then be the first steps a circuit or a church, could take to start using this map and these resources as a way of encouraging a culture of discipleship?
Sure. Well, in November, the first weekend in November 5th, I'm coming to you with loads of stuff. So please come along. Friends from the Newcastle district are joining as well. So we'll have a day together exploring this, and there'll be a chance to ask questions and to think about what this means for you individually and as you as part of a church community. And we've got lots of resources that we can use to make this tangible and physical. So at conference, I don't know if you can see this, we had lots of badges. So we gave people badges when they completed little challenges. It's a nice way to encourage people to see what they're doing. We've got things like postcards with the different things on, so people can write reflections of how they've done these things. We've got beer mats, coasters as a reminder, so you can have these scattered around your church. We've got stickers. We've got I can unfold this, so posters that can go up in your church. So we're testing out all kinds of ways of making this visual and clear and simple, so that it's part of the church life, part of your sort of fabric of your church gathering together.
I mean, shall I quickly show the tube map?
Yeah, please.
Some images, and we can kind of, there you go. So
great. So this is Helle's version of the tube map. So this is a version of the floor mat. We call it the twister mat that we had at a conference. So we can use this in gatherings to again ask people to stand on the station that they think is their home station. So your son's picking up learning there as his one. I don't know if he just stood on any one, but that's the sort of thing you can do with it. And Helle's got this, and Bev's got one as well. So if you want to borrow this for your church for something like a general church meeting, would be great to get people to think about it. This is a resource that's local that you can borrow and use.
Let me stop sharing this. So a little bit more about the Reimagining Discipleship then. What would that be? Would you say, Andy, that that's the springboard really to start working towards a culture of discipleship in your own context?
I think so. Yeah, it's great to be able to talk with other people and share about it, to make it less of an individual thing and more of something we do together and support each other in. So this Reimagining Discipleship Day will explore the parable that I've gone through in more depth. We'll sort of pick it apart, think how it applies to you, and for people who have some kind of a church leadership role, some agency to shape the church, think about how we can make this work, for your church, how you can shape things up, how you can open new stations that might be closed, that sort of thing. So really encourage you to come along that day. It'll be fun. We'll pray lots, and we'll listen to God. And as you said, Helle, this is a chance to be a springboard into something that will go on and on and on forever. The thing is, we're all disciples. We're all disciples of Jesus, and this is a way of just making it more tangible, more real, and hopefully, therefore, giving you sort of richness to your walk as disciples. Also, I think this is really interesting, that a lot of these discipleship things, these activities, are things which people who are not in church are already well doing. Things like flourish, helping the creation to flourish. People care about this. People who aren't in church care about this. So in a way, they're kind of disciples already. They've already got a foothold into the door of discipleship. So this is a way to open up our doors to new people and find some common language that we can talk about, things we all care about.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's very reaffirming, I must admit. Thank you, Andy, for coming along and talking to us about all these resources. We really are looking forward to the November weekend. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much. Hope you have a brilliant rest of your time together.
Thank you.